Good evening, friends, and welcome to Littleport Christian Spiritualists. It's New Year's Eve, and I've lost my hair, and everyone's commenting about it at home and abroad, so you might as well join in. Welcome, friends, and thank you for joining us here this evening. I know that you all have lots and lots of planned sitting in front of the sofa watching the soaps, so I thought, what the hey, let's all get together and have a spiritualist gathering with lots of very interesting and slightly different theme tonight. So we're going to introduce everybody in a moment and talk about what we're going to do. But by suggestion and good intent, I have to inform you all that there is a plan afoot. And that plan afoot is that tonight you get the opportunity to ask all the questions you never got the chance to ask. And Reverend Lynn and myself will be answering them, because one of the things when you're in a church, you often get the comment, do you know, I've always wanted to know, but I've never had the opportunity to ask because everyone looks so busy. Well, it's your time tonight. It's your time to shine. It's your time to ask, and it's your time to get an answer, hopefully. So if you have a question about our way of life, about spiritualism, anything to do with the philosophy, the mechanics, you know, we're all ready to answer those questions. And so start asking. You can ask them at any point and we can bring them back up on the screen, ready for to be answered by Reverend Lynn, and perhaps I might snip in a few tweaks and chinks here and there. So that is the plan for tonight. So welcome one and all. And speaking of welcomes, let us welcome first and foremost, as always, a very good friend of mine. And she has been busy this evening as well, doing a demonstration of mediumship with Reverend Kathy. Let's welcome Principal Minister of the New Christian Spiritualists Society. It's Reverend Lynn.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
In good spirits tonight.
I think they may well be. We're getting lots of Happy New Year's and lots of hellos and good evenings. So it's very, very nice to see everybody joining us. I haven't had any questions for us yet, but I'm sure we will have some questions up and coming throughout the evening, ready for us later on. So, I know that you did a demo earlier on this evening, which I was kind of like cooking and listening at the same time. See, you get to share my kitchen as well as my boudoir. But what else have you been up to this week? I know you've been very busy.
Well, it's quite difficult to isolate what I've been doing, because it seems to just like a snowball, it sort of gathers more and more snow as it rolls along, and this last couple of weeks has been like that for me. So I have been very busy, and I'm happy to say that I've been busy as well, because I've been speaking to all my children, and when you have half a dozen of them, and when you have lots of grandchildren, if they all want to speak to you, it can take up rather a lot of time. And especially, if they want to speak each day. But I have done some writing. I've done some ordinary writing, as I call it, earthly kind of writing, reporting on village matters and so on, and sending it into the provincial paper that usually runs the odd story or two that I send in. And, the spiritual work never stops, of course. What I would like to say is that something that did affect me was I saw the man who'd been convicted of spying for Israel by the USA 35 years ago. He passed on military info about Iran, for instance, you see, and it meant that Israel could actually go and take out some of those Iranian missile defenses, well, I call them defenses, and so on, and sort of their nuclear places and so on. Anyway, this was 35 years back, and he was convicted, and of course he is a Jew, but an American Jew, and what happened was that he was released after 30 years and spent 5 years house arrest with an electronic tag, and then they let him go. And of course, the first place he went was Israel, and he arrived there yesterday. And when he came off the plane with his wife, when you saw Prime Minister Netanyahu greeting him on the airport there, on the tarmac as they came down, he said something to him that all people who have either read my book or have heard what I've had to say about it, heard him repeat some words that I've always said to people that they should say before they go to bed at night, when they first lie down, when they get up in the morning, because it's laid down in the Bible, in fact, as worthy prayer. And something also that Jesus would have said, of course. And it was in Hebrew. He said to him, Baruch atoi Adonai, Adonai Eloheinu echad, Baruch atoi Adonai, melech le'olam vared. Now, anybody who knows that will have been saying that, because you don't have to be a Jew, you don't have to be Jewish to say that. It just means that, thank God for being the one. Praises to God. Blessed be the name of God. He is one. And it says, blessed be the name of God, whose kingdom is forever and ever. King of the universe forever. And he said those words, and then he said some more stuff, that most people wouldn't understand if they didn't understand the Hebrew. But I thought, wow, we all understand that, because I've always said to people, well, this is what Moses told people to do. He was told to do that. So if you do it, it sets you up for the day and sets you up for the night. So it's something to sort of focus on, if you like. And Jesus, for sure as Chips would have said it himself, when he lies down and when he rises up, because that's what it told everybody to do. So he would have done that. And I was so amazed to actually hear those same words coming out. The first thing that this guy Pollard heard, and his wife, was Benjamin Netanyahu actually reciting that to him. So I thought that was quite amazing. So that sort of stood out for me in the last sort of week. But the spiritual work, and tonight Kathy and I decided we would do a sort of mini service of our own, because we knew that there wasn't going to be mediumship tonight. And I feel always very strongly that there should always be mediumship. There should always be proof of survival. Unless, of course, it's a special service, hatch, match and dispatch, as you know. But I guess Reverend Nick, in his wisdom, has decided that tonight is a very special service as well. So again, a New Year's Eve service, which doesn't have mediumship in it. But we decided, Kathy and I, that we would do that. So this is what we did for an hour earlier on. We did a sort of little service, and we had quite a lot of people, over 100 people watching, which is nice at the time, because 100 people in the village hall or in any church is a good congregation.
Absolutely.
So there you are.
Thank you, Lynn. And yes, I did. Let me just. The magical echo has returned. Bear with me. Yes, I did make a decision to not have mediumship tonight. Purely and simply, that's why I didn't advertise it as a service, because I do know Lynn's feelings on what a service is or isn't. And I know that a lot of people will have their own personal quiet time and plans, but also that they would need a little bit of spiritual upliftment. And of course, one of the things that I was always taught by Lynn is that spirit contact does come in many ways. So we will be having healing, and we will, of course, be getting some answers to some very interesting questions I'm seeing coming up already. So there will be spirit input, which, of course, is the spirit in spiritualism, even though there will be no demonstration of mediumship from our loved ones tonight. I'm sure they will probably have a hand in formulating the answers that we get tonight, as they always do. I'm reminded that they like to interfere, certainly if they're from my family. So I do know that although we're not having the standard mediumship, we will be having a spirit contact. And of course, the spirit contact between ourselves as living spirit, which I do know that Lynn and I often enjoy a bit of spirit contact between ourselves during the week when we have a bit of a video call from time to time. Now, of course, it's not just Lynn and me tonight. I did say that we would be joined by Littleport regulars. And of course, we've got some Littleport regulars waiting in the wings downstairs. And if Lynn, if you're happy to stay on screen. Excellent. We will welcome. Oh, I got the nod. It's fine, love. Bless them. Do you know those eyes? I tell you, you can tell a lot from people's eyes. So first and foremost, let us welcome up Reverend Alan Sutton and Reverend Penny Sutton. Hello, girls and guys. How are we?
Everyone, evening, everyone.
So how are you, and what have you been doing this week?
Well, Penny's been doing her usual resting, which unfortunately her illness has sort of overtaken her normal sort of busy life. Myself, I've been out and bought another car to tinker about and do up and vlog on, so that we can keep Penny in the way that she's been accustomed to.
Ooh, ouch.
I know I haven't had much chocolate, have I?
No, that's right. Anyway, but yeah, quite busy. I'm quite busy because obviously I also help and do as much housework as I possibly can, and so that it takes all kinds of pressure off Penny.
Yes, absolutely.
So
it's actually really lovely to see you on screen, Penny. It really is, and I know everyone's been asking about you, so they will be most relieved to see you joining us for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Now, of course, tonight we've introduced Lynn, and she's done her usual introduction with a little bit of input from the world of spirit. And of course, now at this point, Alan, you would usually have a bit of input from spirit by giving us a reading.
Well,
so, have you chosen something appropriate?
Yes, I think I may have done, Nick, and I think even more so, this was inspired by spirit, because for the first time ever, this reading was picked on Tuesday.
Oh.
And I normally do not pick a reading, not even look at a reading until the morning of it coming online.
Yeah.
So I do think that this was definitely inspired by spirit, and I hope that everyone makes sense of it, because it's quite an intriguing piece, actually. And I will crack on with it. It is called A Recipe for a Happy New Year, and it is by somebody called Anonymous. Take 12 months, clean them thoroughly of all bitterness, hate, and jealousy. Make them just as fresh and clean as possible. Now cut each month into 28, 30, or 31 different parts, but don't make up the whole batch at once. Prepare it one day at a time out of these ingredients. Mix well into each day 1 part of faith, 1 part of patience, 1 part of courage, and 1 part of work. Add to each day 1 part of hope, faithfulness, generosity, and kindness. Blend with 1 part prayer, 1 part meditation, and 1 good deed. Season the whole with a dash of good spirits, a sprinkle of fun, a pinch of play, and a cupful of good humour. Pour all of this into a vessel of love. Cook thoroughly over radiant joy, garnish with a smile, and serve with quietness, unselfishness, and cheerfulness. You are bound to have a happy new year. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you. That is absolutely stunning, really, and absolutely a perfect recipe for a brand new year, if you'll pardon the pun. And we've had quite a lot of comments regarding Anonymous. She does get about a bit, that young lady. And she's very well versed, and I think she might be getting close to writing almost as much as Lynn. But we'll find that out. Now, I can see her reading the comments, but she's going to be answering one of them soon herself. So I can see it brewing. Oh, I'm going to love her putting that one up, because I've already got my first introductory answer ready. See, that is the face that we all get in circle. That is the face that we all get in circle when we are absolutely naffing it up. But no, in all seriousness, absolutely perfect recipe. And I know that at some point in the not too distant, you'll be able to share that with everyone online.
That will be online by the morning.
Fabulous. You're a lovely, lovely bloke. Well, you two are going to stay on screen if you don't mind.
Yes.
As we fill up our screen, we've got 4 more individuals in one screen about to come on. And of course, it wouldn't be a Thursday night without any of them. So let's welcome onto the screen. First and foremost, Henry. First and foremost, Bully. But of course, their escorts and chaperones, Samantha and Hannah. Hello, ladies and animals. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic.
Henry, say hi.
Hello, Henry. Good to see you. So have you two been busy this week?
We've been busy not doing a lot.
Good.
We've
Quite
been
right.
chilling. We've been chilling.
Yeah.
We've been watching movies.
Dumma.
Oh, sounds like the story of my life.
No, we've just been having some good family time, which is what we needed.
Quite right too. And you know what, that really is what all of this time of year is about getting together and supporting each other and being there for each other, and just reacquainting ourselves with each other, which is another reason why it's so lovely to see us all on screen yakking in the hopes of not sending everybody to sleep, because I know I have that kind of voice, apparently, so I'm told. So shall we all, I think, join together and send out some healing?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Excellent. So, as per usual and as ever, we have our healing video, which will be introduced by the healing prayer, which has not changed very, very much in the last 20 odd years that I've been reading it out. One addition of about a sentence, I think, in all that time. And what certainly hasn't changed is the ability for everybody to send out their healing thoughts to all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort. It is one of the most simplest yet effective forms of spirit communion that we can use, and everyone can do it. All you have to do is just ask. I will share this, as it's a night about sharing knowledge of spirit and everything. One of the first things that Lynn ever taught me, especially when I was a grumpy little Gus, when I was at the end of my tether, and when I was so frustrated and wound up, she thought one more turn and the spring was going to bust. Her advice was always simply this: leave it to spirit. Put it in the hands of spirit. And that is what sending our healing thoughts is. It's putting our loved ones who are in need of comfort and upliftment in the hands of spirit and saying, look, there they are. Go get them, Tiger. And, you know, it really, really does work. So let us all join together as we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them, both those we know, those we do not know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now.
Amen.
In a moment, we're going to have our own personal review of the year. You know, one of the reasons why I selected the name End of Year Review is that today at work, I actually had my End of Year Review at work as well. So it was a bit of a prompt, I'm sure. But when we talk about what people have been up to, Tony Spindles has been busy doing nothing the whole way through, trying to find lots of things. Well, I'm sure you mean meditating in a deep and contemplative state, don't you? Of course you don't. You were sleeping, but there you go. So one of the things that we've all talked about throughout this year is the difficulties we've all faced. But in a life of difficulty and in a life of struggle, there are always the dawns that come to us. So I know that there has been a time this year when something has made you smile, something has made you uplifted, and rather than focusing on the negative, it's time to start focusing on the positive. So we are going to each share a little something, all of us, that has either uplifted us or made us smile in the last year. I will say that we did a quick rundown of what we might be saying at this point before the service. There will be bleeps and censors on standby just in case. So we will all, let's go in the order of people that popped up on the screen. And let's welcome back Lynn and unmute her. For your turn. What's made you smile or uplifted you this year?
Well, to be honest, I have had a reason to smile and be uplifted every day, because last year I was diagnosed again with breast cancer,
Yes.
And I had an operation in November, and it was just wonderful to wake up from that operation, to get on with recovery from it. And every day since then, I can honestly say that something has made me smile, even if it's just the fact that I've woken up in the morning and been able to think thoughts and contemplate the day. And one thing I will say is that my partner makes me smile every day. If I don't actually laugh out loud, which is usual, I have something to smile and uplift me every day because of her. And also my children and my grandchildren, if I think about them, I smile and I'm uplifted, and thinking about how they're going to carry that torch forward of, love. And I know they're all very kind people, and it just makes me smile. And what I'd like to say is on this point that I noticed that Michael Swindle says the C of E reinforces discrimination of same-sex unions, and how does spiritualism differ? Well, apart from, spiritualism per se, I would say that Christian spiritualists have something to say about that, which will make people who are Christian and spiritualists smile, because we can say that without equivocation that we as Christian spiritualists believe that God is love, and that God made all human beings in its own image, and therefore all human beings of every gender and sexuality are images of God. And so therefore the Great Spirit, and each of us a spirit from that Great Spirit, are equal and are all offspring of that Great Spirit. And whatever sexuality or gender we are, and whoever we choose to actually be romantically involved with, and even, dare I say it, sexually involved with, that is something that has to be absolutely sanctioned by that Great Spirit who made all of us. If we agree that everybody is created by the great Creator, the Almighty, then He makes no mistakes. There are no mistakes in this world. There are just different kinds of people. And, people are very fond of saying this thing, I see God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Well, that's rubbish. God did make Adam and Steve, and He made Eve, and I think we had this the other day, didn't we? What girl's name rhymes with Eve? Something else, but definitely Maeve or something, we'll say, in time-honoured, strangely rhyming, not rhyming. But absolutely, we are all equal as Christian spiritualists. We absolutely take that forward and say to people, you can come and join us. Doesn't matter who you love, as long as you love. That's the point. So there we are. So yes, my love makes me smile every day.
Absolutely spot on and wonderful. And I'm just going to briefly mute while I join in a chorus with Reverend Lynn on that particular answer. As a Christian spiritualist, I feel complete and welcomed in this way of life. As a medium, I didn't necessarily so. And certainly as a Church of England congregant, I certainly didn't feel welcomed and open. But the union of those two ways of life creates a wonderful sense of purpose and hope and unity, actually, and to absolutely underpin everything that Lynn said. What I will also add, because I believe the reference to Adam and Steve came up here. I've got to go back up there in a minute anyway. On the whole agree, though I saw a very homophobic medium on a platform to quote him. I'm not going to, but what I will say is an argument that we have been making for as long as I've known Lynn is that not all mediums are spiritualists, and certainly not all mediums are Christian spiritualists. And this way of life is open and welcoming to all, which is a blessing, truly a blessing. But what I will also add to that is that it also has its downside, is that sometimes our philosophy becomes a little murky and clouded by the opinions of others who portray themselves as spiritualists, when actually they do not necessarily follow the 7, or in our case 8 principles of spiritualism. Because at the end of the day, if you follow those, the brother and sisterhood of the human family means that we are all united as one, and we cannot criticize and cajole and segregate each other, and nor would we. And certainly in Christian spiritualism we do not. And as I said, not all Christian spiritualists are mediums, but certainly not all mediums are Christian spiritualists, or indeed even spiritualists. So, but what I will say is that most chairs are spiritualists, because I've got to share that. He was pulled off the rostrum by the chair. I hope that it was apparating chair and that spirit dragged the chair with him on it off. Sorry, but no, it's absolutely horrendous that anyone would say that, but to portray themselves as a spiritualist, frankly, they ain't, and they certainly are not Christian spiritualists, and certainly don't subscribe to the new Christian Spiritualist Society, considering the membership and leadership. And I will say no more on that. So we did jump ahead a little bit, but nonetheless, I think it was important to do so on that one. And I do see lots of other comments that we will be going back to in a moment. But for now, Samantha and Hannah, quick question, because I know you're not looking forward to this, so let's get it out of the way and stop you fretting.
Okay.
What's your highlight, my dears? What has made you smile?
Being able to connect with everybody online during the lockdown. If we hadn't been able to do that, I don't know how we would have coped. It's literally been a godsend for us.
Because of course, for health reasons, you two have maintained a lockdown pretty much right the way through. Yeah.
Hannah's hardly, well, you can count on one hand since Hannah's left the house since March, because we've been in a bubble. And the same for my son, Jack. He's not left the house more than a few times, but but we felt the need to do that, and we want to continue doing that until we get the vaccine and things like that.
Absolutely.
So yes, the online services have been an absolute godsend for us, and and I felt I have progressed. I've had a little bit of a stall over Christmas with different things, but I've got to work through that myself and get through it, and I will.
Of course you will.
But,
and of course, a certain young lady has got very creative in her isolation, because it's still on the shelf. There's no elf on the shelf. It's my encaustic art from Hannah. So I know you've been very creative in this time, Hannah. In actual fact, I do have to say that I've had a message for you, specifically, Hannah, from a mutual friend of ours. Reverend Sprout asked me to tell you that he hasn't gone anywhere. It's just that throughout the Christmas period, he goes into hiding. Something to do with chestnuts and boiling water, he said, So he tends to go into hiding over the Christmas weeks. But he will be back with us in the new year.
That's good. That's good to know, isn't it?
And so thank you for uplifting me with that. And I know that a lot of people will get pleasure and upliftment from Reverend Sprout as well.
Good. We look forward to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we've got two more people to ask, because I'm sure that one will have an opinion and the other one will have the chocolate. So ladies first. Penny, what has made you smile?
There's lots of things that make me smile, actually, Nick. Even when on my worst day, when I'm feeling really exhausted, Al always makes me laugh. Whatever he does, he's so funny. So that uplifts me. I think one of the things recently that I was very uplifted by was my grandchildren. Because during lockdown, we've taken to reading bedtime stories that I've written myself. And one was actually published by my daughter-in-law's mother. And so we've all got copies of it. And one night I was feeling really tired, and my son Vince rang me. He said, "Mum, are you up to reading a bedtime story to the children?" I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll give it a go." Anyway, they looked at me and they said, "Nana, we're going to read to you tonight." So they got the book that, what was it called? Barney the Baby Rabbit, wasn't it? And they read it to me. And that was absolutely wonderful. And then the other personal upliftment is that I've lost 2 stone in weight. Thanks to Weight Watchers.
And that's due to me.
Other dieting services are available. But well done, Weight Watchers. Well done, you.
And of course, being able to, I know I haven't, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I haven't been around to actually have any input into the service, but actually watching it has really uplifted me as well. So thank you.
Bless you. Well, this is what spiritualism is all about. It's about family, and it's about friendship, and it's about mutual upliftment and love. So bless your heart, and carry on the good work, darling.
Right.
Well, Reverend Victor Meldrew himself, he gets the last word on this bit. What's made you, well, I don't know that we've got, how many hours have we got left? What's made you smile, Alan?
Well, where do I begin, really? We can all look back and think of the terrible times, but I think on reflection and looking back, really, there's many times where we've been uplifted for whatever reason. Today I saw a male and female fox just across the fields, trotting across, and immediately nature makes you smile, because it's such a wonderful thing. Anyway, I digress slightly, and there was one point, sort of like in between the 2 lockdowns, where we was able to do one of our drum circles, which was as well attended as we was allowed. Very uplifting, and as some know, others don't, that I do a meditation evening online on a Wednesday evening, as you well know, Nick.
Absolutely.
And some of the members that actually joined in that meditation to actually see and be part of their growth in this way of life, and to see how their confidence has gained over the weeks has been, to be quite honest with you, quite staggering. And what an honor it is to be a part of somebody's progression.
Yes.
I think it's the highest honour that can be bestowed upon us, really.
Absolutely.
But the absolute highlight, just to bring it to a close, so that I don't sort of outdo you with my talking.
Touche, Turtle.
But you know, as we all know, that Santa Claus was kind of waylaid and had to isolate so that he was well and kept well for the 24th. So I was honoured to be asked to stand in for him for our village. And you know what, Nick? I think that was if somebody said to me, what is the highlight of your life since becoming ordained, that has to be it. The input that I could put in and see the smile on those kids' faces.
It's lovely.
It's beyond words, to be quite honest with you. To be able to do that is just so uplifting, and I actually started to believe in Christmas myself now. You know, because I was really was the original bar humbug.
Yes, you were. We can all vouch for that one.
And
Brilliant.
You know, it really is. It was just such an honour to do it.
Fabulous.
And so uplifting. I guarantee that for each one of those smiles, I actually got tenfold of enjoyment out of. You know, it was just a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Yeah, brilliant.
And on that note, I will close.
Well, thank you all. And I suppose I really ought to put my money where my mouth is and share my very small and short, because apparently I go on forever. I will share my very small and very short highlight. And that has actually been getting up in a similar vein to Lynn, but not for the same reason, of course. Getting up every day and getting messages and talking to spiritualists that I would have never have been in contact with a year ago, purely and simply because there was no way I would have met them. In the last couple of weeks, I've been speaking to a young man called Matt from Canada. We've been having contact more and more. We even got James online. That was something special. We get to see each other every week in spite of everything. And there are silent and unsung heroes everywhere, on every street corner, in every house, in every home, on every sofa, perched either watching this or watching the soaps right now. Everywhere there is beauty, and there is love, and there is laughter. And at this point, because of all of her hard work, I'd like to single out one person who has truly worked very hard for Spirit this year, with no thought or care for her own personal life or time, by the looks of the amount of work she puts in, but also without any particular direction or flow to any particular grouping, organization, or school of thought. The lovely Veronica Jenkins has been advertising pretty much every online service that's willing to give her their name on the online service page, where she's kept a directory of every single service that's going on online on Facebook. And she's been advertising us all the way through the year, as many others. But not only that, not only does she have this page that she keeps up, she also makes a list in time order for that day, which is absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure that all of these lovely people here on screen would testify that I'm not always the easiest person to keep track of, get hold of, or get information out of. So the fact that she's managed to keep me in check I'm sure Lynn gives her greatest sympathies. But Veronica, your work has been absolutely sterling this year, and we are all very, very grateful. So that's what's made me smile. Smiles, happiness, upliftment, and people looking out for each other. And so on that note, I would like to thank the bottom half of the screen. I'm going to let you have a break and a rest now, because I know you need to either go and refill or go and chase and see what Hannah's up to, depending, or maybe even get some chocolate. Not you, Alan. You're banned. But you will come, of course, back for the closing prayer, won't you?
Of course we will.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you a little bit later on, my darlings, and God bless you and thank you so much, not just for tonight, but for everything. Well, Lynn, we have already answered one of the questions, of course, which I thought was rather sly and subtle and wonderful. And I know you've been having a nosy.
Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3 others that I've noticed. Well, I've noticed the only 3 other than the first one that we dealt with between us, the Church of England.
Yes.
How we differ, amongst other things. But I have seen 3 specific questions other than that I've. One was about from a medium about passing on messages. One was about somebody who's obviously developing their psychic abilities and talking about words repeating, coming up, making themselves known to her. And another one is about isolation and loss and negative energy and how to deal with it. So any one of those I don't mind to answer, or I don't mind to answer all of them.
Well, let's get this, because I've just seen one of them that you mentioned. Julie Hilton.
Yeah.
Could I ask if seeing repeating words coming up randomly is a sign of spirit around me? Been having one word, not a common word, coming up again and again, unsure what it means, or am I just being silly? No. Well, in the simplest and shortest of answer, no, but it's over to you, Lynn.
Right. Now, interestingly, words that spirit use anything they think will hook our attention. So if you are somebody who is going to notice words, they will put words in your way. For instance, Maurice Barbanel, who was the trance medium for the group Silver Birch, he said that he often used words in those trance addresses that that he was given and relayed that he himself didn't know or had to look up. And I think that is something that often happens in trance mediumship. In other words, where the medium is literally listening to what their guide says and repeats it or writes it down. And what you find is that when you look up these strange words, they do mean something and they are in context, and it gives you the proof. So you're asking somebody who deals in the same way with words, and that is how spirit work. You have been given words that they knew you were going to ask the question about. And I can say to you that you are being noticed by those in spirit. They are trying to capture your attention, to capture your interest, to pique your interest in these things. And I think that if you are going to develop your own psychic abilities towards ultimately mediumship, being able to receive those communications and pass them on or write them down for the benefit of others, then that's a very good way of hooking you. And I think you can safely say that you have been hooked, because the other thing that we are always asking ourselves when we first start to become aware of our link to spirit is, am I am I losing my marbles? Is it me, or is it, am I imagining this, or how can that be? Or I don't really think that's possible. But the fact is, there is no coincidence in spiritualism, and using those words, the word that keeps coming up, that's a way of getting you. So I suggest that you start to develop your own abilities, and you will get lots of words.
Absolutely, yes. And I will just as I hang on 1 second. 1 second. Go again, Lynn.
Does the person who asked that question understand my response and accept it?
Let us.
I mean, it's not compulsory.
No, you don't have to, but I'm sure she will comment, and when she does, I will share her response for you. And while she does just formulate perhaps a response, what I would like to just add, we do sometimes, especially when we're beginning, and I get asked that question a lot, and I recognize it because it's what I went through. You start to question, oh, am I going mad, as Lynn said. One of the things that she actually taught me as a practical, and she taught the whole circle, bless them. There's not many of us left down here now. They're all upstairs reminding me of everything that Lynn's ever told me. It's wonderful. She taught us the handbag test, which I thought was absolutely wonderful, to the extent that I've shared it with all of my students that's followed. If you get something, you try and turn it into a handbag. So if it's a word, you try and turn it into the word handbag. But what you'll find with spirit is that it will keep snapping back to the word you were originally given. Why? Because if it's your own thoughts, you are in control of them. If it is not your own thoughts, then you're not going to have the charge or the control of those words. So the handbag test is absolutely beautiful and simple, and I've always remembered it for the whole 20 years. And on that note, I will say that that's extremely helpful to know and find reassuring. Trying to develop on my own, so good to know Spirit are helping me in that particular way. Well, you know what, Julie? I think that I've got a glare coming from Reverend Allen from down in the green room to remind you, of course, as what he said, because Spirit do obviously influence everything we say. There is an online development and meditation circle going on Wednesday nights. And if you're interested, we can hook you into that. I'm sure they will welcome you with open arms. And you will have a right old uplifting time. And everyone works together to help each other out. And I get about half an hour's worth of questions as well from random people afterwards as well, which I thoroughly enjoy, because I don't think I've actually had the opportunity to join it yet, because Wednesdays is a work day. But yeah, it's lovely to see all the comments flying. And I know that lovely group of people will welcome you with open arms should you wish to join in that particular group. And of course, as I said about the other thing, I think it was slimming groups. Other circles are available, but why bother with them? Stay with us and have a laugh. I am, of course, joking, free will and all. But seriously, if you're interested, get in touch. There's several of them about to try and cajole you in the comments right now. So I'll let you talk to them. So, Reverend Lynn, the other question... one of the other questions, I should say, that I believe you noticed was, when you pass on messages and you sense something is amiss, should you give it as a given to you, or find a different way to pass it on? So do we give what we get when it's something a bit awry, or should we play a little bit of censor when it's something amiss?
First of all, if you sense something, you don't give it, because sensing is not sufficient evidence to go on. You, as a medium, you are required to either hear or see or feel And, you know, feelings can be a little misleading. So I'd say if you see something given to you for somebody, if you hear something given to you for somebody, then you can decide and you can speak to the communicant, the person who's telling you this, and you can ask them if it's something that is unpleasant or whatever. You must go back to them and say, look, you know, this isn't suitable for relaying. Perhaps it's a public demonstration, or it's someone that you think shouldn't be spoken to about this matter. And the person from spirit will then be guided themselves to tell you something in the way of what they want to actually say. But something nebulous, like sensing that something's amiss, no way. That's something that can easily be a psychic response, and that is not trustworthy sufficiently. You know, it comes under the heading of sort of like intuition, or you know, some kind of emotional gut reaction, and that's something that we should actually, you know, okay, we get it and we dismiss it. But if somebody actually tells you that somebody needs to be careful about, say, the brakes in their car, or to get their, you know, to look at their shoes, that they might not be substantial enough for what they're going to be doing, or to watch their steps, or don't go up a ladder, something like that, then I think it's fair to suggest that, you know, there has been a warning from spirit to say they suggest that blah blah blah. But certainly sensing something, no way. If I sense something, I just think, oh, I'm sensing it. Well, no, that's just me, or, you know, it's not sufficient. One has to actually hear or see, and then go back to the communicator in spirit and speak to them. If you think that it's not suitable to say, then you must say to them, look, you know, I don't think this is suitable. Can you tell me something else to actually give? And they will always do that. They will always do that. The whole thing is that mediums, working mediums, should be mediums, and, you know, not psychics. Psychics is okay, but people should know that they're dealing in probabilities and possibilities. You know, to lurch into the quantum theories, but you know, a medium is a medium. You either are a medium, you hear spirit and you see spirit, or you don't. And if you do, then if you hear something or see something that you think is not pleasant, you don't really think you should be passing it on, then if you feel yourself, I don't think I want to talk about that, you go back to spirit, ask them about it, and then act on that. Aren't you glad you're not in my circle? Oh, it's Tony.
I had this for many years and I loved every minute of it. So I think that you'd be wrong on that particular part. What I would also like to add is that I quite often get on a slightly more not really humorous but humorous note. I quite often get asked by mediums, and in the workshops that I've done developing mediums, and asked by people in general. And there was one incident where I heard of it actually happening as a general rule, not on my platform, because we do say we give what we get. But if the something amiss is the language that they're using, then yes, I do suggest editing in a discreet way is always appropriate, especially in a spiritualist service. But what I will say is that you can get around that by saying, well, of course, she called you a bit of a what's it, but I don't think that's what she would have said. And that way you are implying that person, because that in itself is evidence. But certainly when it comes to the more deeper meaning. I totally agree with Lynn, because that's what she told me to say about 20 years ago. And I haven't ever forgotten. So yes, and absolutely, totally agree. Always clarify and ask for clarification. And of course, we should always do that when we make the initial link as well. Something else. See, isn't it nice for you to know that I was actually awake and listening and not asleep 20 years ago? Oh, hang on.
You didn't want the full body healing, Nick.
No full body healing for me.
No.
Now, there was another one that you mentioned just before we close. What did you say it was? Because I can't.
Somebody said that they had sort of lost, they had to ditch a couple of friends who weren't suitable, really, because they were on a different pathway. And somebody who is very narcissistic, so we assume, perhaps somebody closer even. And so they were having feelings of isolation and loss and negative energies, and wondered how to deal with it themselves.
And that was, of course, the lovely Anthony. Hello, Anthony, and thank you for joining in. One of our early on members of the online congregation. So yes, I got rid of one narcissist this year and decided to part ways with two friends, as I'm leading a different path now, finding it hard to deal with isolation, getting rid of pretty much word for word what you said anyway. So how can we put ourselves in those situations, Lynn?
Well, we go back, funnily enough, we go back to, this is my advice anyway, it doesn't have to be taken. But we go back to the chat that I had when you first invited me to talk about, what had brightened up my sort of week or two or whatever. And I talked about Netanyahu greeting that man who had arrived in Israel after 35 years of arrest in the USA for passing on information to Israel, which he shouldn't have, but he did. And he served his time for it, and a great deal of time as well. And the words that Netanyahu said, the first words he said to him, were the words that I say to people that they should follow, because they're beneficial, and that is, when you wake up in the morning, you give praise to God. You say, "Blessed be the Lord my God, the Lord our God, who is one." And then you say, "And blessed is the Lord my God, because he is King of everything forever." King of eternity. And if you say that every morning, that first thing every morning, it focuses, it gets rid of extraneous thoughts. You can, whatever you wake up muddled with and worried about and everything, if you say that, it clears it, and you get up and you go about your business, and you don't feel so isolated, because you get that connection with spirit. That's what keeps us all going, is the connection with spirit, knowing that there is more than just whatever it is that's going on in the world for you at the time. And it does help. It also helps get rid of negative energy, because you can't be negative and thank God and bless and bless the Lord at the same time. It doesn't work like that. So you're basically training yourself to be thankful, to be happy about something which is of a spiritual nature, and it takes you away from everything that's going on that may well be negative and sad making and loss feeling. And yes, of course, you'll be assailed, as we all are, by feelings of loss at different times during the day, maybe every day. I know if you think about your loved ones who are in spirit, you feel that loss. If you think about people that you have been very fond of and are now doing something else in the world and not to do with you. It can make you unhappy. But if you actually hold on to the fact that you're not on your own, so you say your prayers in the morning, you get up, do what you have to do. And if you get feelings of loss, if you get feeling like negative stuff's going on, pray. Repeat it again. Jesus wasn't wrong when he said, why don't you pray something like this? Because if you say something, prayers by rote aren't always of the essence. But if you are in dire circumstances, if you're feeling miserable, and if you're feeling sad and feeling a sense of loss, you can just pray, those few words, and it dispels that. It helps to get rid of that negativity. And eventually you find that you're not daunted by the day. You can wake up, say your prayers, get up. And if you can get up, that is. If you can't, you're just stuck. Okay, you can stay and converse with those in this world of spirit, knowing that they're there and they're going to help you. So I think that this way of life is the absolute best for helping all of us get over feelings of loss, of being isolated, and feeling that there's negative energies around. And of course, there is a lot of negative energy being poured out every minute of every day. And it isn't just about COVID flaming 19 either. You've got wicked films and video games and absolutely dreadful drivel being pumped out all the time. The Romans knew about that, how to harness negative psychic energies, because that's why they banged all those people up on crosses, thousands of people all at once, all that agony and crying and fear. That poured out that negative psychic energy into the atmosphere. And it had to be some very tough spiritual people to overcome that. And they did. So there you are.
Absolutely. Now, somebody has mentioned I echo a little bit. Only until I do this. Oh, press the wrong button. There you go. That one, the mute button, because there is an echo. But I am aware and I try and manage it as best I can. I would like to absolutely back up everything Lynn said on that. Only to add that you asked what can you do to help yourself. Actually, I think you've already started doing what you can to help yourself by removing that negativity from your life. And of course, you're surrounded by people of a like mind because you are more drawn to people like yourself. And certainly you've got all of us to draw upon if you ever need a chat. And I think that doesn't get said enough. So I'm going to. So I hope Lynn's words certainly helped you. Now, at the end of everything to do with New Year's Eve, we always have to have a bit of fireworks. But to save the poor animals, and certainly from the shock of my video, to save those particular fireworks, we're going to have some different fireworks of a kind for our final question, because I'm going to answer it first while another firework starts to brew and get ready to blow up a big one. Because I know exactly what her response is going to be to this final question. But I do want to answer it a little, and I know Lynn will. But mostly because I want to say hi to Paul and thank you for joining us. And, we are here if you need us, because I know you've had a rotten time. But, you are an amazing person, and I've seen some of your comments today, and your tenacity is absolutely stunning. But why do some Facebook clairvoyants or mediums give upsetting readings in public? Now, I've seen a few answers to this. I'm going to give my own, because they are not spiritualists. They are not spiritualists of Christian variety. They're not even spiritual. It's all about numbers, ratings, and clickbait, which ties in exactly with what Lynn was saying a moment ago about the negative energy. and they are certainly not servants of spirit or doing what a medium proper should, and that's helping people. And having lit the blue touch paper, what do you say, Lynn?
Well, Kathy and I, as you know, have done a couple of spoof seances, mediumship readings, because we've been angry. I've been angry seeing the kind of stuff that's been punted out, and people think that they're watching mediums, you know, clairvoyants, whatever they want to call themselves, and some of the stuff is just dire, and you know, they seem to be, they get very upset when people criticize them. And to try to be spiritual, I thought the best way we could do it was just sort of to educate people, to show them how easy it is to punt out rubbish and make it sound convincing. Anybody can do that. And to actually give negative messages is absolutely disgraceful. But the fact is this, that the Fraudulent Mediums Act of 1951 was repealed in 2008 by Her Majesty's government because the European Union directive said that you should repeal all your old acts, mate, and then cover it by this new Trade Descriptions Act. And someone, a faction perhaps in government, decided in Whitehall to actually, a civil service thing, they decided to have a go at spiritualism by repealing the Fraudulent Mediums Act of 1951, which had replaced the Witchcraft Act of 1735 and meant that spiritualism was protected, mediums were protected, because it meant that if you could prove that someone was fraudulent, they could get nicked. They could be arrested and convicted. Now, there's been no such safeguard since. What I'm hoping is that we will get somebody to take on another private member's bill, which the Fraudulent Mediums Act was back then, and to actually instate a new act, calling it perhaps the Genuine Mediums Act, and actually make it an offence not to be a genuine medium, because there is a way of proving whether somebody is actually communicating with spirit or not. And this is what the new Christian Spiritualist Society was actually set up to combat. And that's why we're actually here, to show people, to educate the public in good, genuine mediumship, and so that people who are cashing in some way, whether it's in the popularity stakes or financial, these people at Facebook, clairvoyants or mediums, upsetting readings in public. I mean, it's a paradox, because spirit, those in spirit, good spirit, would not upset anybody. Yes, people get overcome sometimes with feelings of joy or overwhelmed with the actual contact and communication they receive. But, you know, people they've loved, sort of lost, able to sort of communicate back with them. But upsetting in that respect, no way. So I would say that if we got a new act, it could easily put a stop to this, and we would actually have, you know, in the old days there was the hammer of the witches. Well, we could have the hammer of those who pretend to be mediums. You know, we need something to actually say to people, look, this isn't right. These are not good people. They're not doing any good for us or for spiritualism. And we have nothing at the moment thanks to the European Union and some idiots in Whitehall deciding that the Fraudulent Mediums Act could be wiped away and it could all come under this new Trade Descriptions Act. Absolute nonsense. Because when I spoke to the government department responsible for business and trade regulations back then, I got a letter back saying, I don't know where all these people are thinking that we're going to have something, going to have goes at mediums or mediumship. Anything to do with religion is nothing to do with us. Mediumship as a practice of spiritualism is a viable and proper practice and is respected as such by government. And fake mediumship is something that needs to be indictable. It needs to be stopped, and people need to be at least educated as to what genuine mediumship is, what it constitutes, what they should expect. And I ought to, Reverend Nick, you published a book for me. The Spiritualist Handbook actually lists what I call the 7 principles of mediumship.
And it's like also on the New Christian Spiritualists Society website too.
Thank you, Reverend Nick. But really, I feel so strongly about this. I think that people should actually complain, visibly on Facebook. If that's happening, then somebody should actually make a comment. Should actually say, look, what you're talking about is bilge, or you shouldn't be saying that, or somebody should say something. Surely, it isn't up to me. I try to be spiritual. And as I said, Kathy and I, did a couple of spoof seances and spoof readings and card readings and pendulum swingings, and we tried to make it obvious so that people would recognize when they were being rooked. And for whatever reason, this is going on, but I would like to see a new act in place to protect spiritualist mediums. Yeah.
Amen to that.
I've said enough.
Absolutely spot on, and I cannot add to that in any way, shape, or form. I will just briefly mute you. I'm not going to bring it up because hang on. What were you saying?
Michael, you still see, Michael says, unfortunately, you still see churches use the entertainment disclaimer, which cheapens religion. How dare they use that? I have told them again and again and again, this is not necessary. If you've got somebody on your platform who says they're doing it for entertainment purposes, boot them off. Because they are not entertainers. We talk to the flaming dead. I talk to the dead. I said on Good Morning Television that time when they said, oh, but you might get arrested. I said, I challenge anybody now to arrest me because I'm not doing this for entertainment. I'm not an entertainer and I'm not doing it as an experiment. I can speak to the dead. Come and nick me now. I speak to the dead. Nobody's arrested me yet. Still waiting.
No, they wouldn't.
Well, they could. And then I could give them a message.
Yes.
When Helen Duncan was arrested, she had so many witnesses and she offered in the Old Bailey to give a sitting. She said, I will prove that I speak to the dead. I'm not pretending. And they refused to allow her to do that. Yeah. But that is the truth of it. We speak to the dead.
Hear, hear.
Well, they're not dead, are they? I've seen more dead people sitting in a congregation than on the other side.
What is important is that spiritualism, whichever aspect of spiritualism you worship under, is simply a religion because we pray to a deity, and the beauty of a religion is absolutely.
Yeah. Tim, absolutely, Tim.
And I'm going to quote something that you always used to say to me, lovely Tim Abbott. Yes, Tim. Yes, Tim. I remember when you first served our church many years ago, you always used to say to people, say yes, Tim. And so I do say yes, Tim. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that as well. Friends, we are approaching the end of our evening. I did promise you a firework display. Boy, did you get one. Light blue touch paper. Stand as close as you possibly can. Lynn, I've just got to say, while you're muted, your passion, your courage, and your strength have been a well-featured part of every Thursday night ever since March. Now, due to health and personal reasons, as you discussed, you were not always able to come on a Thursday night, and we did have a long gap without you. I cannot now imagine a service without you being part of it. I am cautious and worried for the future when we do go out of lockdown that I won't have my mute button anymore, but that's another story. But seriously, thank you on behalf of us all for your words and your friends in spirit. Of course, we've got to say thank you to Doris, of course, who is a driving force. And of course, on behalf of us all, thank you for keeping us informed, educated, and entertained in 2020. And if anyone's does modeling and crafting, I've been collecting yogurt pots all year. And there is an in-joke which everyone is grinning at. So, Lynn, God bless you, my love, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's have everybody back. And as I do get everybody back, I will just briefly mute because I do want to make one small final comment. I'm not going to give the medium the kudos of actually putting on screen what they said, but Paul, nobody is chosen to suffer. And yes, she may well be on a special mission by God and the angels, but nobody's chosen to suffer. And any medium who says that certainly wants what Lynn suggested, a rocket, and I don't mean a firework, off the blinking platform. There is one wonderful thing about the internet age. There is a button and we can press it and it ends with the word off. Take that how you will. And I did say earlier that there's a discreet way of saying what spirit mean without actually saying it. And I think everybody can agree with that. Paul, I will say that your wife was on a mission from the God and the angels. We all are to an extent, but I know what joy and upliftment and love she brought to your life. And I think that's a good enough mission for anybody, which brings us back to Lynn's happy moments, all 365 of them, which brings us full circle, which means we can now say our closing prayer as we join together and say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship. And as we take our step from one day into another day, no matter what its date, no matter what its significance, let us always remember that it is always darkest before dawn, but with dawn comes light, life, upliftment, and a chance to start anew. And we have 365 of them before it goes to 2022. So as we move out into our lives and we come together in thanks, in gratitude, and in respect and love for the work that your angels and all of our loved ones who serve you up in the world of spirit, we say as ever, do not move the mountain. Simply give us the courage and strength to climb. And I would like to ask for a blessing to be placed on each person here present, watching now and in the future, so that all of the world may spread with love, upliftment, and light. Amen. Well, friends, I'm sure Samantha and Hannah that Bully will have enjoyed his week off. Has he been drinking?
No.
Good boy. Well done. Quite right too. But I'm sure that Bully will be back next week, will he not?
Yeah, he's here.
He's having a rest off screen, is he?
Yeah.
He can say hello if he wants to. There he is. Hello, Bully. And his Christmas hat and everything as well. So Bully will be back next week to finalize the mediumship, which will of course return next week with another new medium. So thank you to Sam and to Hannah. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Reverend Alan, Reverend Penny, my darling good friends, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for your readings and your words and your happy news. And Penny, thank you for your smiling face. It's good to see it back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
And it's good to have, it really, really is good to have you back. Thank you, my darling. And of course,
could I just add to Lynn, what Lynn was saying about all these, I'm going to call them charlatan mediums. But one of the biggest parts of the problem of that is charlatan teachers that let these people do one course and call themselves mediums.
Yeah.
What?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a word, but unfortunately people don't understand the weight of the words and the meanings that they have. Certainly not like us.
Well, I just think that it's wonderful, this certainly in this group of people since I've joined it, and the way they actually spread the word of true, genuine mediumship is just absolutely wonderful, and there should be more of it.
Here. And I think Lynn would probably finish that along with, it's the job of the New Christian Spiritualist Society to spread the good news. So thank you for that, Alan. And of course, it's that time. Here she is, Reverend Lynn. Thank you for being part of this service. You are now unmuted.
Oh, wow. Well, I think I'd like to echo, of course, what Tim Abbott put so succinctly, that it doesn't matter what branch of spiritualism you deign to put yourself under or associate yourself with, because we are Christians basically who are spiritualists. But there are spiritualists, there's Muslim spiritualists and Jewish spiritualists and all sorts of spiritualists, and then there's just spiritualists. And for a long, long time, of course, I was with the Just Spiritualists, and I edited their newspaper for them for many years. And it was through that I met Tim Abbott, in fact. But, I think that all of us, who work for the light, who work for spiritualism itself, everybody spreads a good word, and we need to make sure that lots and lots of people know the truth, and not to be frightened of that or pushing it. Evangelists go out and spread their version of the truth, and we like to spread ours because our truth is actually the truth. The fact is, we all inherit eternal life, and that is our absolute rock. That God made all of us the same. We are all spirit of the great spirit. We come from spirit. We're here spirit within our bodies now. And when we finished with the physical self, we go back to that spirit world as spirit beings. So, and this we can prove. Spiritualism proves that all the time. Somebody is doing that every minute of every day and night. And these people who take our work and try and wreck it, I don't know what's worse. People who try and sort of batter us because we're mediums, or people who pretend to be mediums and batter us with that, so that the public get confused. But I would just like to thank everybody who comes along and supports us in our work, and I hope that they enjoy that, you know, the work that everybody does, and Reverend Allen's wonderful readings, you know, absolutely every week, wonderful, and Penny who supports him in that, the long-suffering Penny. We won't go into that, you know, Reverend Penny. You know,
Don't go there.
we sympathise with her because we realise she has to listen to all of this all the time. We only have to, we only, you know, see the finished product. And for Samantha and Hannah, who support us so wonderfully well every time, and Hannah with her marvellous work for Spirit, utilising her talents with Bully and with her craft work, you know, wonderful. She works for Spirit, you know, just as surely as the next medium does, the next healer. So, you know, thank you to both of them. And also, of course, Reverend Nick, it would not be the same without you. You have been amazing since I first met you at Littleport Leisure Centre, and you offered to make a cup of tea. I've never forgotten the cup of tea, what it tasted like, and I think over the years it's possibly improved slightly.
Only slightly.
Thank you, Nick, for being you and being such a clever boy.
Oh, bless you, Lynn. Thank you. And I will close by briefly doing that wonderful thing of muting the echo, but not, of course, of Reverend Lynn, by thanking and for echoing, literally echoing Lynn without the echo. Thank you to everyone, all of you, and to everyone who tunes in, week out, supports this church. You are part of this church. You might not be under the same roof, but you are under the same umbrella. And that umbrella is peace and love and friendship. And thank you all for being a part of my life, actually. It's not very many people that can say they have a couple hundred people in their bedroom on a Thursday night every week. But I would like to... hang on 1 second. What was that, Lynn?
Disgraceful. Disgraceful. Disgusted of Littleport here. How many hundreds?
Well, at one point it was about 1,200 by about 10 o'clock in the evening.
Absolutely disgusting. I wouldn't want to live next door to you.
Nobody does. But in seriousness, to reassure everyone, as my final thought, today I was told that I am persistent and tenacious, and that I have a certain sensibility about me that means that I kind of never give up and keep going. What does that is Spirit. What does that is friendship. What does that is love. And on that note, God bless you all. May the peace of this great Spirit go with you all. We've got 2 hours and 44 minutes left of 2020. Do with it as you will, because we will be back next week. Thank you all. God bless you. Happy New Year. And you know what? To close out the year, let's have something slightly more familiar. But until next week, God bless. Good night. And from us all here at Littleport, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.